I believe it's page 31 in the PDF file for the BCA lab report. They compared item 31, a bullet fragment, against the test-fired bullets from item 1 and item 57. They were performed, and the results were the following. Item 57 against 31 showed the presence of matching features. This means item 1 fired 31. The bullet fragment that is item 31, it was found over towards the window. There's a casing that was found there also. That's closer to where David would have been, I think.
That makes me think they're not 100% sure this came from the same gun. And how can they be if they found it 1 month later? They shouldn't be. So.
That's the impression that I'm getting also. I'm looking at the photos. It would be item 30 would have been the casing that they found over by the window. Item 2, the cartridge case. Edge of the carpet and recliner in living room. Item 3, cartridge case by the small stool in the living room. Item 7 is a live round. It is on the rug by hair clumps and torn Quran pages. Item 9 is a cartridge case on the rug by the Quran page. Item 30 is a cartridge case under the bookcase by the big window. The bullet fragment was item 31 by the bookcase, blue yoga mat by big window. Item 36 is a cartridge case by torn Quran pages by the couch on the rug. Item 37, cartridge case by the corner of the rug by couch and by the pink Surface Pro. Then the bullet 42, 43, and 44 near Camille on rug. Item 45 was a bullet and basement wall. Bullet 53 is the one that fell out of the rug after the cleaners moved the rug. And then 57 is the attic bullet.
It doesn't make sense that they would say, okay, we found 2, 3, 9, 30, 36, and 37 on the 17th, but we didn't find the 6 bullets that matched it.
But somehow they missed 53 and 57 that first day, too. If they
You're right, they missed 50
on that day.
Yeah, you're right. They missed 53 because they found 53 a couple days after.
Mm-hmm.
They found 53 on January 19th, 2015. So they missed 2 bullets when they left the house.
Mm-hmm. Because anything that they found after that day, they give it a higher number. For instance, 53 was found a few days later.
I wonder what 54, 55, and 56 are now, too.
54 is classified as CD with images. And then after that it says item 28/1.1.
They weren't even expecting 53 through 57.
Or 57.
Yeah. I'm sorry, you said 54, 55, and 56?
54 is images. 55 A CD with questioned handwriting. 56 is with footprints. And it's more images. 57 is the bullet in the attic.
They were not expecting to find any of that.
No, they weren't. These are things that were brought to their attention.
Yeah, or else they would have never known about it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Which gives you a headache. Because I mean, come on, okay, things outside of the house, like an extra journal, whatever, other stuff later, yeah, but anything in the house, man, you guys should not have missed anything inside of that house, period. I think it's a known fact that there's no blood, no flesh, nothing. None of Kamel's blood or flesh were found on the daughter and vice versa. Not a single sample that was DNA tested had David or Rainey's blood in it. It would be interesting to see if the rest of the blood that was taken, that they took samples of, even comes back with their DNA on it. I mean, how is it possible that 3 people were brutally shot in a house, but there's no mixtures of their blood?
That just can't be. They can't all die in the same room at the same time. You can't have the mother and daughter die in the same room at the same time. It just doesn't add up. That part just does not add up.
Tommy Booth had gone through and had picked the items that should have been tested. The rest were then being held at the BCA lab. These were random tests. So the odds of David and Rainey's blood not being found is just, it just leaves you thinking, how is that even possible? It is almost like, and this is just an assumption, to me, it seems like David and Rainey were killed someplace else, brought back, and then Kamel was killed there. And that's the only explanation for why just her blood is found. But like I said, it's an assumption. I am not saying that as a fact.
Right.
Because I don't have the actual proof besides DNA.
Well, and is there any of David's blood, any of his flesh, found on any of the other 2?
No. No. The only DNA found of David is on the gun and the magazine. And then there's touch DNA that was on the bullet in the attic and the knife. When you touch something, you leave hundreds of little skin cells. Logically, if he stepped in her blood and left footprints, there would be DNA from him if he was barefoot. There would be. Skin cells will be in there. Just like the wall. Unless he wore gloves and he wrote on that wall, his DNA would have been in those samples. Especially because he's like rubbing against the wall.
There's no fingerprints. How do you tie it to David Crowley?
That's right. Unless gloves were worn or if they used some type of item to write it with, but they didn't take the scarf into evidence. So right. I know that several people had discussed the scarf that looked bloody. That was never taken in evidence, so I'm fairly certain it no longer exists.
Which is crazy. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I agree. Why not test the clothing? Just to rule out any other intruder or anything like that. I mean, just think of the evidence that could be on there. Not only would there have been the gunshot residue, but they would have also shown other DNA. Several of the tests, I believe it was 7 tests, came back with mixed DNA of 2 to 3 more people, yet we don't know if that was contaminated. We don't know if that could have been DNA left by whoever committed the murders.
Right.
We don't know what to think. But if we would have had the clothing at least tested, we could find out if there was signs of the killer on there, anything. I mean, there's just so much more information. But it's very frustrating.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. The more that we look at this, the more we see there's nothing that ties David Crowley to any of this. Why would they think that David Crowley would have written this on the wall in his wife's blood?
The submit to Allah now on the post or on the notepad, I don't believe that the now was even written by David. I believe it was written by another person. His N's are completely different. The O is different. The W. He writes his N's in almost like a lowercase kind of rounded N. That one, it looks like it was written by a left-handed person. There's different things throughout the crime scene where you sit there and you look at it, and it's like the person who wrote the now on that note, I'm fairly certain is the one who wrote on the wall. Some of the writing just lines up with it, the angle. I've come to the conclusion that David didn't do this, even in the reports. Detective Bone, he states over and over that no forced entry, there was no signs of struggle, no apparent missing items. So the only conclusion he can come up with is the fact that David did this, because he didn't see signs of forced entry. And then you're thinking to yourself that the back door was left open? Why would there be forced entry? Like the submit to Allah, which is really, really weird, was spelled one way, and then you look at the wall, and the Allah Akbar is written in a different way than the Allah is on the notepad.
Right.
David, from all reports, he was very consistent in the things that he did. So why would he spell Allah one way and Allah a different way on the wall? I think I can say with certainty that this was not an Islamic hit.
But could it have been something made to look like one?
Oh yeah.
And then the other question is, well, was that David who made it, who wanted to make it look like something that it wasn't?
I have thought about that. I just don't see the rationality behind it, but I also don't see the rationality of killing your wife and child.
Right. Which is why they had to make him look crazy. They had to make him look crazy, or else then it's like, well, there's no way he would have done this. So they had to go to that crazy point. And the fact that they did it so early and so soon was just strange. Very, very strange.
It was within hours that they came to that conclusion. I'm almost fairly certain that they came to that conclusion as they walked into the house, starting from the 911 call.
Yeah, that's where they got the first line.
I think, like I stated before, the really big thing that keeps bugging me is the lack DNA or mixture DNA found in Camille's blood.
Right.
Still bugs me. The odds of their blood not showing up at all. If they were killed in that same general area, it should be there.
Yeah.
And it's not. How does it not beg the police? How are they not questioning it? I think they just wanted to close this case.